There's a moment every man faces. That quiet decision to stop talking to her, not out of anger. Not to manipulate, but because something inside you says, enough. Maybe she stopped replying with the same warmth. Maybe every message felt like you were reaching out to someone slowly walking away. Or maybe she just became distant. Her tone colder. Her time suddenly too busy. So one day, you decided to do nothing. You didn't text. You didn't call. You didn't explain yourself. You simply went silent. And now, your mind won't stop asking questions. What is she thinking? Will she even notice I've stopped talking? Did I do the right thing? Or did I just lose her for good? This silence, this space, feels unbearable. Because for the first time, you're not chasing. And that's when real power and real clarity begin to appear. You see, what most men don't realize is that a woman's reaction to your silence reveals everything. Her interest, her respect, and her emotional connection. It's in the way she behaves when your attention disappears that her true feelings are exposed. Some women pull away completely. Others test your resolve, but a few start to wonder why a man who once cared suddenly went still. And that's the moment the dynamic shifts. Not because you played a game, but because you reclaimed your self-worth. Want to know what really happens when you stop talking to her? And why this silence affects her more than you think? Ethan had always been the type of man who cared too much. He believed effort was everything. That if you showed a woman consistency, kindness and attention, she'd value you for it. And for a while, it seemed to work. When he first met Lily, the connection felt effortless. She laughed at his dry humor, texted him first some mornings, and made plans just to see him. Ethan thought he'd finally found something real, but over time, something changed. Her replies became shorter. Her enthusiasm faded. And every time Ethan reached out, he felt like he was chasing a memory instead of a person. He tried to stay patient. He told himself she was just busy, that things will go back to normal. But deep down, he knew the energy wasn't the same. One night, after staring at his phone for nearly an hour, waiting for her to reply to a simple message, he felt it. That quiet exhaustion that comes from giving too much to someone who doesn't seem to care. So, he did something different. He stopped texting, no explanation, no passive-aggressive silence, just nothing. The first day, he felt restless. The second, anxious. By the third, he started checking her social media, wondering if she'd noticed. And by the fourth, a strange peace began to settle in. Lily didn't text immediately, but when she did, her message wasn't what Ethan expected. It wasn't warm. It wasn't angry. It was casual, almost as if she wanted to see if he was still available, still orbiting around her. Ethan stared at the screen, realizing something. She wasn't reaching out because she missed him. She was checking if he was still there. That's when it hit him. She had grown used to his attention, his energy, his presence. And now, she was testing whether his silence was real or just another move in a game. He didn't reply, not because he wanted to win, but because he finally understood. He'd been giving his attention to someone who never truly earned it. So where did Ethan go wrong? Why did pulling away feel so painful and powerful at the same time? When Ethan went silent, something powerful shifted, not just between him and Lily, but within him. You see, men often misunderstand what happens when they stop talking to a woman. They think silence is a tactic, a trick to make her chase or miss you. But in truth, silence is not about her reaction. It's about reclaiming your peace. Let's break it down. When a man is constantly available, always texting first, always checking in, always explaining, he sends an unspoken message. You are my priority, even when I am not yours. And women feel that. At first, it feels flattering. It feeds a subtle ego need. But over time, it starts to drain attraction. Why? Because attraction is built on polarity, the tension between masculine stability and feminine emotion. When a man loses his center and starts orbiting around her mood, her attention, or her validation, he stops being the grounded man she was once drawn to. He becomes predictable, and predictability kills desire. So when Ethan stopped talking, he unknowingly disrupted that dynamic. Suddenly, Lily was forced to confront a silence she didn't control. For the first time, she couldn't predict his next move. This is where female psychology comes into play. When a woman senses distance from a man who once gave her constant attention, a few instinctive thoughts arise. Did he lose interest in me? Did I do something wrong? Has he found someone else? These questions aren't always about love. They're about perception of value. Because attention, for many women, becomes the currency of connection. And when that currency disappears, it forces her to reevaluate what you meant to her. But here's the catch. The goal isn't to make her wonder. It's to remember your own worth. Ethan's silence began as an act of frustration. But over time, it turned into something deeper, self-awareness. He started realizing how much of his energy had been tied to seeking reassurance, not love. He noticed how he had been measuring his value through her responses. And that's where the true Stoic mindset comes in. The Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, taught that you cannot control the external world, only your reaction to it. You cannot make someone value you. You can only become the kind of man whose value is self-evident. So, what happens when you stop talking to her? From a psychological standpoint, a few things can unfold. Attraction resets. Your absence creates contrast. She remembers the energy you brought when it's gone. Boundaries surface. You learn whether she values you or just the attention you gave. Power shifts internally. You stop reacting to her behavior and start acting from self-respect. Lily, in Ethan's case, did text again. Not because she suddenly fell in love, but because she felt the void of losing his validation. And Ethan, the man who once would have jumped at the first message, stayed still, calm, grounded. That silence wasn't cold. It was clarity. He wasn't ignoring her. He was no longer chasing where he wasn't respected, and that's the key. When a man stops chasing, he stops negotiating for affection. He starts leading his emotional life instead of reacting to someone else's. Because true strength isn't loud. It doesn't demand or explain. It simply steps back and lets reality reveal who's truly meant to stay. But even with this understanding, most men fall into dangerous traps when they try to play it cool or go silent. So before you apply this lesson, let's talk about what not to do. Now, before you think silence is some magic weapon, let's make one thing clear. There's a right way to pull back, and a wrong way that ruins your power completely. Because many men don't go silent out of strength. They go silent out of fear, frustration, or emotional manipulation, and women can sense the difference instantly. Let's talk about the biggest mistakes men make when they stop talking to her, and what to do instead, using silence as punishment. Some men go quiet to make her feel guilty. They want her to notice, to chase, to realize what she lost. That's not confidence, that's control. And the moment you try to manipulate her emotions, you lose emotional discipline. A Stoic man doesn't go silent to teach a lesson. He steps back to protect his peace. Silence isn't revenge, it's reflection. Breaking the silence. Too soon you've been silent for a few days, maybe a week. Then suddenly she texts, "Hey, how are you?" You panic and instantly reply, "That's not strength. That's reactivity." Understand this. When you step back, it's not a strategy. It's a test of your own stability. If you can't stay grounded when she reappears, your silence meant nothing. Hold your frame. Respond from calm, not craving. Pretending you don't care. Men often confuse detachment with indifference. You don't need to act cold or emotionless. That's not stoicism. That's denial. Stoicism means feeling deeply but acting wisely. You can care about her being sad and still walk away from behavior that disrespects your boundaries. That's strength. Don't be the guy who goes silent to play games. Be the man who walks in silence. Because his peace is louder than her drama now that you know what not to do. Let's bring it home. In part 5, we'll tie everything together. Your mindset, your growth, and the challenge that turns lessons into transformation. Let's finish strong. So, let's bring it all together. When you suddenly stop talking to a woman, you trigger a psychological shift, not because of manipulation, but because of energy realignment. She starts to sense that the center of control has changed. Where once you were reacting to her, now she's left wondering about you. But remember, your silence only has power when it comes from self-respect, not resentment. The purpose isn't to make her chase you. It's to reclaim your sense of clarity, strength, and peace. Throughout this journey, we saw how one man's mistake was turning silence into a cry for validation, when it should have been a moment for inner grounding. You don't walk away to hurt her. You walk away to heal yourself, and ironically, that's what often makes her see your value more clearly than ever before. So here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, resist the urge to reach out to anyone who disrespected your time or energy. Sit with the discomfort. Notice how much stronger you feel when you don't need external validation to feel worthy. When you do that, you'll notice something powerful. You'll stop reacting to her silence, her distance, her games, and you'll start responding from calm,